Okay, today we are going to discuss about database. That means yesterday we have seen web service integration. Today we are going to see system integration, but we are going to use database right now. Okay. Now assume that we have some database. Okay, that we are going to configure by using a Mule application in Mule by using a database module. Right. As I said, is Mule 4 is a modularized. That means every operation like select operation, insert operation, delete, bulk insert, bulk delete, all these are the operations, right? Normally all these operations are given as a separate connectors. By using any of the operation you can connect to the database. Okay, so in our program I'm going to use MySQL as my vendor because it's an open source, it's a free and it's a open source. So I request you to install MySQL on your machine if at all it is not installed already. Okay, it's a lengthy process. Please go to some YouTube channel to install that MySQL, right? While installing MySQL, you need to remember what is the port it is listening at. By default, it will be listening on 3306, and what is the username and what is the password. Okay, we need to remember these three because by using this username and password only, we are going to configure in our Mule application, right? And while you are for this password selection also, please use a legacy password. Okay, it will ask you whether you want to go with the latest password configuration or legacy password. Please go with the legacy one. It's the easiest one. Normally don't give, my suggestion is don't give your own username and password because if you forget, it's very hard to retrieve. So normally everyone will give, and the training or practice purpose, root as a username and password, right? These are the things we need to remember. And the installer you can directly download from the website, and the latest version of MySQL is 8.0.21. Okay, but right, I have given the installer of 8.0.19. There is no change. You can use either of the one, but if you don't want to download directly, you want to use, I already given this installer in the lab, in the folder, softwares folder, MySQL installer communication 8.0.19. Okay, you can install that. Now assume that you have installed. How you will come to know whether it is running out there, running or not, and the backend, how you will come to know? While installing, it will ask you two ways whether you want to start the server um, automatically or manually. That means if you select manual, every time you need to go to, whenever you required, you can go to the server and you can start the server manually. Automatically means whenever you open your machine, automatically it will start it in your background. So how to check whether it is installed or not, whether it is running or not? If you go to the run command and type services.msc, it will show all the services present in your application. Right now I already installed MySQL. Let's see whether it is there or not. Just type for MySQL. Yeah, by default you will be getting a name like this, MySQL 80. First time when you are installing that. So it's a manual. Right now I have selected as a manual. So after that, after a few days, I have installed that again. Okay, just to show how it will automatically how it works. So I changed the name while installing for the second time. Change the name from 80 to server, and I installed as an automatic. So right now I didn't start this actually. Whenever I start my laptop, automatically it got started. You can see automatic. If you want to stop, right click and you can stop it. If you want to start manual process, right click on this and you can start and stop whatever the operation you want to, you can perform. This is the backend server, right? Now if you want to fire any query, or else if you want to write any command, SQL command, and if you want to write some queries and retrieve the data or post the data, whatever you want to do, how you will write it, where you can write in order to retrieve the data. This is the backend. So how to fire a query? Normally what you will do in any database?
Write it on the editor on the server.
On the server. Example.
The server editor, right? Like every DB has its own editor, SQL editor. Or
Hmm.
like a
Okay.
workbench.
Workbench. So
UI.
can we have a front-end editor, UI? For
Yeah.
this MySQL, we have something called Workbench, and the version is 8. Okay. Now, while installing itself, it will ask you products, what and all the products you want to install. Please go ahead with all the products. So by default, the Workbench also will be installed. Right now, front end is installed and back end is also installed. Now we need to have some data in order to work with what you call the database, right? So how we are going to write a query, where we are going to write a query, we are going to use a workbench to write a query, and the backend server is 8.0.19 or 17. I'm using 17 because I have not updated, so it's fine. Everything is fine. You can use 8.0.19 or 17 or 21, whatever the version you want. Right, all comes under this 8 workbench. You can use this workbench, and you need to establish a connection between these two. Right now, so we require some third-party data setup in the database. So we need to fire some query. I need to fire some commands in the server. That means in the database server. So we can use our Mule application in order to retrieve the data or to fire some query. Mainly, we are concentrating on, by using a Mule application or database module, how you are going to connect with the database. What are the configurations we'll do? Once it got connected, how we are going to switch between the environments. And once you switch between the environments, the property files, how you are going to secure that, and what are the domain. The, all this comes under this database concept. First step, I already installed my MySQL on my machine, and let's see whether we have workbench or not. I'm just typing here workbench. I already pinned to my taskbar. Let me open that either the way. Now this is my MySQL workbench, and we can establish a connection by using this plus sign. It's a pretty explanatory, self-explanatory. Connection name, username and password, and test the connection. It will be tested. Otherwise, you can directly click on OK. Right now, I have this connection, and I will open that. Yeah, by default, you will be getting a query on this blank page. Now I want to create some database schema, and I want to create some table, and I want to insert some data into that, so that on top of the data we can retrieve the data, or whatever the operations you want to perform, you can do that. First of all, we need to have some data, right? We need to write some commands, how to create a table and all. So what I have done, instead of sitting and writing here, what I have done, already given these commands to you. And go to the labs and workspace. There is something called Mule Training DB text file, SQL text file. Let me open that. Now you can see I already given here. These are the SQL commands related to MySQL, right? Only slight changes will be there, vendor to vendor. So these are related to MySQL. So what are the commands I'm writing here? Create a database if not exist. What is the database name? Mule Training DB. Okay, the schema name is Mule Training DB, and I'm going to use that, and drop the table if exist. What exists? The table, product table is exist. If it is not there, automatically it will create a product table with these column names and properties. Column names like product ID, brand name, description, name, offer price, like that, right? And once it got created the table, I'm going to insert the data into it. Insert into product table. What are the values? I'm going to insert 6 product details. Total 6 product details, right? If you drag right side, you can see the 6 product details I'm inserting into this product table. Like that, I have inserted some images as well. So we are working on this product table right now. Now just copy all these comments, go to the query one page, paste here. Now you know already, if you want to fire any command, just we need to select and we need to execute that, right? If you want to execute all the commands. No need to select anything. Just directly execute. Click on this execute button. This is the execute button, right? So it will fire all the queries. Once you fire all the queries, on the left side under the schemas, you can see with the one schema with the name Mule Training DB. Now it's already created. Uh, if you tell it after executing, if you're not able to see, just open on the open place, right click and refresh. It will be created, right? Once it got created, let me expand it. Yeah, I have some tables. After expanding that, we can see product and product images table. Now I want what all the images are present, what are the product details are present in this product table. I want to fire a query. How can I fire a query? In order to read all the data, what is the query to be fired? First of all, how many of you are aware of SQL? Okay, what is the query to be fired?
Select star from
Select star from the
Select
table.
star from
table.
Database.table.
okay. I will use this icon in order to fire a query. Select star from schema name, the database name dot product. So I have inserted 6, but I mean normally, and for other pages I shown the how to insert another also. So another line item, another record. So it is showing as 8. Total I have a 7 products. But don't get confused. While you are practicing, you will be getting only 6 products. Both are fine. So this is how you normally you'll use and how it to the data by using a workbench, right? The same thing I want to use by using my Mule application. So here we are not concentrating on how to write, what are the queries to be written, how to write a query and all. No, we are concentrating on how to connect by using a database module, right? So let me start with that. Go to the file. Let me import database endpoint start project. 01 database endpoint start. Okay. Now assume that I'm going to get a request in this way. 8081 DB. First, in order to listen for this request, we need to configure listener. Still, it is resolving the metadata. We need to wait for that. Okay, let me configure otherwise. What is the path? DB. Now, I want to use a database module in order to connect with the database, external database. How to connect? Basically, my Mule explicitly support major vendors, 4 major vendors like Microsoft SQL, MySQL, Oracle DB, and Derby. If you want to go with your own database, you need to have a configuration for your own, related JDBC driver. You need to configure that. Since my projects Mule 4 or Maven projects, we can directly configure the Maven coordinates in your dependency file in the pom.xml. A related connector, MySQL related connector dependencies you can write under that. So explicitly you are not writing in a pom.xml, simply drag and drop, automatically it will be updated in the XML, pom.xml. Let's see how it works. How to select any module?
Add modules.
Okay. Just check any database module. Yeah, I have a database module here. Add to your project. Now you can see we have multiple operations. These all are nothing but an operations given as in connectors. What is a connector? What is the meaning of a connector? We can connect to the external applications, right? We can connect to the external application by using of the any of the connector. Similarly, here by using any of the connector here, we can connect to the database. Suppose I'm going to show you for the select. How I'm going for the select, you can do for the insert, delete, whatever the operation here, you can directly connect to the database, because every connector is having what? Connector configuration. Or else you can use the same configuration because it's acting as a global element. Database configuration will be acting as a global element. You can use the same connection for all the operations as well. Now let me connect. Let me have a configurations for this database. Click on a plus sign. Now what is the connection name? Which database I'm using here? MySQL. As I said, Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft, Derby. If you want to go with your own database, you can go with the generic connection, but you need to have here JDBC driver. Right now, I'm going with the MySQL, and I want to give a related JDBC driver. Since my project is a Maven project, just let me configure that driver. Right now, my version is 8.0.17, MySQL version. So let me configure that. So how to configure? Add Maven dependency. Now I need to give the dependency in this way. So if you're not able to identify from here, or you can search in the Maven central repository. So how to find out from here? MySQL colon. I'm just searching with the keyword. Okay, what and all available here on the central Maven central, it will be thrown. So right now, always it will be thrown the latest drivers. Okay, latest connector drivers. So right now it is showing MySQL connector 8.0.21, but mine is 17. Okay, let it be. Please take that 8.0.21. Now you can see if you hover the mouse onto that, what is the driver I have? 8.0.21, but I don't want that. I want 8.0.17. So click on a modify. If you want to modify any driver, you can click on a modify and you can remove or modify. I want to modify now. What I can do, just simply change the version name, version number. So click on finish. So right now I'm configuring in a database configuration, and internally I'm configuring a MySQL connector, right? If you go to the data, if you go to the pom.xml, you can observe that. I will show you what are the how the dependency got added, how the connectors are got added. So yeah, assume that MySQL is also running on my machine only. So what is the host? Yes, please respond.
Localhost.
Localhost. What's the port?
30.
It's a 3306 by default. If you change at that point of time, you need to give the same. I have given a username as root and password also root. That's why I asked you to remember. We required to use the here. And what is the database name?
Mule DB.
Mule Training DB. If you want, you can test the connection. It will take some time. That's why I'm moving out to the click on OK. Now, if you want to see the pom.xml, let's open the pom.xml. How the dependency got added. By this time, we have a database connector and MySQL connector as well. The same query. Now I want to retrieve the data from the database, where I can write a query in the SQL query text. This is the box where you can fire your queries. So right now I want to read the data which is present in a database. So what I can do? What is the query I need to fire? Yes, please.
Select
Star
from MuleSoft Training DB dot products.
Do I need to give the database name? Is it required?
No.
I already configured the configuration. So can I write directly the product table name?
Yes.
Select start from product. If you deploy this application, what you are going to get? My connector is nothing but a Java object here. It is going to give us a Java object. It means in Java, if you are going to fire a query like this from the database, what you are going to get as an output?
Result set.
Result set, which is nothing but a Java object. So I want to transfer that Java object into some readable format. That result set into some readable format into JSON. So how can I do that? What is the component I can use? Transform message. Now, if I drag and drop this transform message after this select operation, what will be the input for this transform message?
Result set.
That means result set means what?
Array.
array of objects. Every record is nothing but an object. So array of objects. I'm just converting that into some readable format like JSON.